Have you ever felt like your life was shifting, but you couldn't explain why? Like something big was coming. Even though nothing had actually changed yet? That's not coincidence. That's alignment. Because before wealth arrives, before abundance walks into your life, the universe always gives signs. But most people miss them. They give up right before everything starts working. Here's the truth. Wealth doesn't come wrapped in money first. It comes wrapped in change. Before you receive, you'll start to lose, and that's the universe clearing space. You might lose people. You might lose comfort. You might even lose your old version of yourself. That's not punishment. That's preparation. Think of it like planting a seed. When the seed is buried under the soil, it looks like it's been hidden, maybe even lost. But underground, it's growing roots, silently, invisibly, until one day it breaks through. So if you're in a phase where everything seems uncertain, if people are walking away, if plans are collapsing, it could be that your roots are growing. Before wealth arrives, you'll start feeling an inner pull. You'll wake up with a strange restlessness, a sense that this can't be all there is. You'll start desiring more peace, more purpose, more meaning. You'll stop tolerating drama. You'll crave silence instead of noise. And suddenly, the same life that once felt fine starts to feel too small. That's a sign your vibration is shifting. Your energy is upgrading. You're becoming someone who can handle wealth, not just wish for it. Because wealth isn't just about money. It's about capacity. If your mindset is poor, your wallet will always follow. And then come the tests. Opportunities disguised as challenges. You might lose your job, only to find your purpose. You might get rejected, only to realize that rejection was redirection. The universe tests you not to break you, but to see if you're ready to hold what you've been asking for. Because wealth isn't random, it's responsibility. So when you face sudden resistance, don't say, "Why me?" Say, "What's this teaching me?" The quicker you learn, the faster you rise. Then something magical starts happening. You'll notice synchronicities, numbers repeating, ideas coming out of nowhere, opportunities appearing. You'll meet people who align with your dreams. Doors will open effortlessly. That's the universe whispering. You're ready. When wealth is near, everything begins to align with ease. You stop chasing. You start attracting. Because when you're in the right frequency, money doesn't run from you. It runs to you. Here are some key points related to this. Before wealth comes, life removes what no longer serves your growth. Emotional restlessness and a craving for peace are signs of energetic upgrade. Challenges are universal tests to prepare you for abundance. Rejection and loss often signal redirection toward purpose. When you align your energy, wealth starts to flow effortlessly. You're not being buried. You're being planted for your next season of success. Before wealth arrives, life begins to clear space, and that process often feels like loss. It's rarely comfortable, and it almost never makes sense while it's happening. You might wake up one morning and realize that things which once gave you comfort no longer fit. Friends who once felt like family start drifting away. Conversations that used to excite you suddenly drain your energy, and opportunities you once prayed for no longer feel aligned. It's as if the universe is quietly, carefully rearranging your life, not to punish you, but to prepare you. Imagine your life as a room. Over time, that room fills with memories, people, habits, and emotions, some beautiful, some heavy. When wealth is about to enter, that room can't stay crowded. The universe begins to remove the unnecessary, so there's space for the extraordinary. But when the cleaning begins, it doesn't feel like blessing. It feels like destruction. You look around and see things being taken away, doors closing, people leaving. You wonder, why now? Why me? You feel abandoned, but what's really happening is transformation. There's a story about a woman who lost her job unexpectedly after years of loyalty. She cried. She panicked. She thought it was the end. But that job had kept her too busy to explore her true talent, writing. With nothing left to lose, she began sharing small posts online. One day, her words went viral. A publisher reached out, and within a year, she was earning more from her passion than she ever did at her old job. Looking back, she said, "Losing my job was the best thing that ever happened to me." At the time, She thought life was falling apart, but in truth, it was falling into place. That's how the universe works. It subtracts before it multiplies. Before wealth arrives, it takes away the distractions that keep you small. It might remove the comfortable routine that kept you stagnant. It might push away friends who are not ready to grow with you. You may feel isolated, but solitude is sacred soil. It's where new seeds are planted. Think of the seed buried deep in the dark earth. It's covered, unseen, and pressured. It feels the weight of the world above it. Yet inside, it's breaking open, not because it's dying, but because it's becoming. That's what happens when you're being prepared for wealth. You break open so your roots can grow deeper. Sometimes the clearing comes as emotional release. You'll cry for no reason. You'll remember old pain and wonder why it's resurfacing. But tears are just your soul's way of watering new beginnings. Before abundance comes, your energy must be cleansed. You can't carry resentment, jealousy, or fear into your new chapter. They're too heavy for the frequency of wealth. That's why things begin to fall apart. The universe is lightening your load. I remember hearing someone say, "The universe will first take away everything you're willing to settle for." That sentence stayed with me, because that's exactly what happens before a breakthrough. You'll start noticing what you no longer want to tolerate. The job that underpays you, the relationship that drains you, the habits that keep you tired. And when you finally let them go, even if your hands shake, something shifts inside. Letting go creates space, and space is where miracles enter. But in that space, there's silence. And silence can be terrifying. You might feel like nothing is happening, like life has paused. Yet beneath the surface, everything is moving. Energy is rearranging. People are being aligned. Opportunities are being prepared. Just because you can't see the progress doesn't mean it's not there. Remember, the caterpillar dissolves in darkness before it becomes a butterfly. The transformation happens in the invisible. Many people quit during this phase because they mistake endings for failures. They don't realize endings are simply invitations to evolve. You might lose money today, so you can learn how to manage it tomorrow. You might lose people so you can discover who you are without their influence. You might lose direction so you can find a purpose bigger than anything you've ever imagined. Every loss is coded with intention. There was a man who once prayed for wealth every single night. He wanted success, recognition, and freedom. But before any of that came, he lost his car, his home, and even some close friends. He became bitter at first, blaming fate. But in his solitude, he started reflecting, reading, and studying himself. Over time, he began to see patterns, how his old habits and relationships had kept him trapped. When he rebuilt, he built from wisdom. Within 2 years, his business flourished. He said, "Wealth didn't come after I lost everything. It came through losing everything." You see, before wealth can enter, you must become someone who can handle it. The universe won't pour abundance into a container full of cracks. That's why it heals you first, even if that healing feels like heartbreak. It removes the old mindset that believes money is hard to get, that success is for others, that you must struggle to be worthy. It strips you down to truth, that you're already enough, already capable, already deserving. And when you know that, wealth becomes a reflection of your inner wholeness, not a substitute for your emptiness. There's a quiet wisdom in surrendering during this phase. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" try asking, "What is this preparing me for?" Because everything you lose before wealth arrives is part of your preparation. The universe doesn't take, it trades. Every time something leaves your life, something greater is being shaped to replace it. But you can't receive if your hands are still gripping the past. So if you find yourself in a season of endings, trust that it's not chaos, it's choreography. You're being guided, not punished. You're being refined, not rejected. Life is not taking things away to hurt you. It's creating space for what you asked for. The very emptiness you feel now is a container where your blessings will soon rest. Before wealth arrives, the universe teaches you detachment, to prove that your happiness doesn't depend on possessions, people, or status. Once you learn that, wealth becomes a tool, not a master. And that's when it finally flows, freely, abundantly, peacefully. Because wealth isn't attracted to desperation. It's attracted to peace, purpose, and clarity. So if your world feels like it's shaking right now, maybe it's not falling apart at all. Maybe it's shifting to make room for something magnificent. You're not losing, you're making space. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. The signs are already here. You just need to trust them long enough to see what's waiting on the other side of loss. Before wealth arrives, there's a shift that begins inside you, one that's quiet, emotional, and almost impossible to explain to anyone else. You wake up one day and feel this subtle restlessness, like something deep within you is calling for change. You start craving silence instead of noise, peace instead of distraction, truth instead of comfort. It's not that your life is bad. It's that your soul begins whispering, there's more than this. You start sensing that the things which once satisfied you now feel empty, and the people who once understood you no longer speak your language. That's not you losing touch with the world. That's you aligning with something greater. It's the emotional awakening that always comes before wealth and transformation. This shift often starts as discomfort. You may not even notice it at first. You just feel off. The music you used to love doesn't hit the same. The conversations that once entertained you now feel shallow. You look around and realize you're surrounded by noise, but starving for meaning. And no matter how hard you try to fill that gap, through work, social media, or temporary pleasures, the emptiness keeps returning. That emptiness isn't a problem. It's a message. It's your spirit saying, you've outgrown this version of yourself. There's a story of a man named Adil who spent years chasing success. He had a good job, a nice car, and everything that looked like happiness from the outside. But deep inside, he felt exhausted. He was successful, but not fulfilled. One night, after another long day of work, he sat in his car and stared at the steering wheel, asking himself, why doesn't this feel enough? That moment of questioning became the spark that changed everything. He began meditating, reading about consciousness, and studying how the mind creates reality. Over time, he realized wealth isn't just something you earn, it's something you align with. His energy shifted from chasing money to embodying abundance. Months later, opportunities started showing up out of nowhere. He wasn't hustling harder. He was vibrating higher. That's what emotional alignment does. Before external wealth comes, internal clarity must take its place. Your energy begins to rise, and the universe responds accordingly. You may find yourself drawn to new ideas, spirituality, psychology, healing, self-awareness. Things that once seemed unnecessary suddenly feel essential. You might start journaling, meditating, or simply sitting in silence more often. These aren't random behaviors. They're signs of your consciousness expanding. But that growth isn't always peaceful. When your vibration shifts, everything that no longer matches it starts falling away. It can be painful because some of those things are people you love, habits you enjoy, or lifestyles you once dreamed of. You might feel guilt for wanting distance from friends who no longer resonate, but that distance is a rejection. It's realignment. You're being pulled toward your next level, and sometimes that means walking alone for a while. A woman once told me about her experience right before her business took off. She said she began feeling disconnected from her old circle. Every time she tried to talk about her dreams, they laughed or changed the topic. She felt isolated, like something was wrong with her. But instead of shrinking, she listened to that inner voice urging her forward. She spent more time in solitude, focused on her goals, and kept her energy clean. Within 6 months, she attracted mentors and clients who shared her vision. It was like the universe replaced what I lost with something 10 times better, she said. That's what emotional alignment looks like. Losing what drains you so you can receive what sustains you. This phase also brings emotional turbulence. You'll feel both inspired and lonely, hopeful and uncertain, confident and lost, all at once. That's the paradox of transformation. You're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. It's like standing on a bridge between two worlds, and the only thing keeping you steady is faith. During this time, people often say, I don't know what's happening to me. But what's happening is awakening. You're shedding old frequencies, fear, doubt, scarcity, and tuning into abundance, gratitude, and belief. One of the most powerful signs of the shift is sensitivity. You start noticing energy. Certain places make you feel heavy. Certain people drain you without saying a word. You become more aware of your surroundings, and more selective with your time. That's your intuition getting sharper. You begin trusting it, even when it doesn't make logical sense. You might feel guided to take a new path, change careers, or move somewhere new. It's scary because it requires surrender, but that surrender is the doorway to flow. During this period, your emotions become your compass. Instead of ignoring your feelings, you start listening to them. When something feels forced, you know it's not aligned. When something feels peaceful, you follow it. You realize emotions aren't weaknesses, they're signals, the soul's language guiding you toward your highest path. There's a quote by Lao Tzu that says, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." That's the essence of emotional alignment. Before wealth can manifest, you must let go of the emotional patterns that block it: guilt around money, fear of failure, feelings of unworthiness. These old emotions vibrate at a lower frequency, keeping abundance out of reach. But when you start healing, forgiving yourself, releasing resentment, and choosing gratitude, your vibration rises. That's when life starts reflecting your inner wealth back to you in the form of opportunities, synchronicities, and financial flow. Sometimes this shift happens through contrast. You'll experience situations that trigger deep emotions: frustration, disappointment, rejection. Not because life is cruel, but because those moments bring your unhealed energy to the surface. If you suppress it, it repeats. If you feel it and release it, you rise. That's why emotional work is spiritual work, and spiritual work is prosperity work. They're all connected. I once met a man who said, "I didn't attract wealth when I started chasing money. I attracted it when I started healing my relationship with myself." He explained that once he stopped seeing money as something outside of him and began seeing it as energy that matched his internal state, everything changed. His external wealth mirrored his internal peace. Before wealth arrives, the universe often places you in emotional situations that demand maturity. Maybe you face envy watching others succeed. Maybe you struggle with patience when your efforts go unseen. Maybe you have to keep giving your best even when no one's applauding. Those moments are your emotional training ground. The universe is shaping your character to match the abundance it's sending your way. Because if you can't remain grounded in gratitude with little, you'll crumble under much. Eventually, something shifts, not in your circumstances, but in you. You stop chasing and start trusting. You no longer beg for blessings. You expect them. You no longer worry about when it's coming. You know it's already on its way. That quiet confidence becomes magnetic. People start responding to you differently. Doors open without force. Opportunities seem to appear from nowhere, but they're not from nowhere. They're from a frequency you've been tuning to all along. So if you're feeling that deep emotional shift right now, the pull toward peace, the loss of old connections, the strange mix of emptiness and excitement, trust it. It means your vibration is changing. It means wealth is getting closer. The external world just hasn't caught up yet. Keep honoring your emotions. Keep choosing peace over pressure, and keep trusting the quiet voice inside you that whispers, "You're almost there," because that voice is never wrong. It's the sound of alignment, the sound of everything you've ever wanted making its way toward you. Before wealth arrives, the universe will test you, not because it wants to break you, but because it needs to see if you're truly ready to handle what you've been asking for. Every person who's ever achieved something meaningful has faced that moment. The moment when life throws one last storm before the calm, one last challenge before the reward. It's as if the universe whispers, "Are you sure you're ready for this?" And that whisper often comes disguised as struggle, rejection, or loss. These tests don't look like blessings when they arrive. They look like obstacles, like everything suddenly turning against you. You might lose money right when you thought you were finally stable. A deal you were counting on might collapse in front of your eyes. People you trusted might disappoint you. But behind every test lies a question. Will you react the old way, or will you respond as your higher self? That's how life knows if you're ready for more, not by what you want, but by how you handle what you don't. I remember hearing a story about a man named Saeed who dreamed of owning his own restaurant. He had saved for years, finally secured a small space, and was ready to open. But just days before the launch, a fire broke out in the kitchen, destroying everything. He sat on the curb outside, watching smoke rise from what was supposed to be his dream, feeling like the universe had betrayed him. He could have given up right there. Most people would have. But instead, he said something powerful. If this is my test, I'll pass it. He rebuilt from nothing, with borrowed money, long nights, and unshakable faith. The second time around, he designed a better space, trained better staff, and built a stronger brand. That restaurant became one of the most successful in his city. Years later, he said, "The fire didn't destroy my dream. It refined it." That's what universal tests do. They refine you. They don't ask for perfection. They ask for strength. When you pray for abundance, life checks if your mindset can sustain it. When you ask for freedom, life checks if you can handle responsibility. And when you desire wealth, life checks if you've learned discipline, patience, and gratitude. Because without those, money becomes chaos instead of comfort. Sometimes the test isn't dramatic. It's quiet, like waking up to another day of nothing changing. You've been working hard, visualizing, staying positive, yet results seem miles away. That silence itself is a test. It asks, can you believe even when nothing is happening? Most people quit there. They interpret the stillness as failure, not realizing that every seed must spend time in the dark before breaking the surface. The test of waiting is one of the hardest. It measures not your speed, but your faith. One of my favorite examples is from Thomas Edison. When he was trying to invent the light bulb, he failed more than 1,000 times. A journalist once asked him how it felt to fail that many times. Edison smiled and said, "I didn't fail. I just found 1,000 ways that didn't work." That's a man who understood the tests. He didn't see obstacles as rejection. He saw them as instruction. And because he didn't quit, he created something that illuminated the world. Life is a pattern. Before every breakthrough, there's a breakdown. Before every elevation, there's resistance. Think of an airplane taking off. The stronger the wind against it, the higher it climbs. The same applies to your life. The pressure you're under isn't there to stop you. It's there to push you into your next level. Every test is a mirror reflecting who you are becoming. If you see it that way, you'll stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" Tests also reveal your attachments. Maybe you've been saying you want wealth, but deep down, you're still attached to old fears. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing control. So life brings situations to confront those fears head on. It's not punishment. It's purification. Like gold in fire, you're being melted down so the impurities can rise to the surface and be removed. What remains is the purest version of you, the version that can hold abundance without losing peace. There was a woman named Layla who once shared her story with me. She'd been manifesting financial freedom for years. Then suddenly, her partner left, her business collapsed, and she found herself living in a small rented room. She thought everything was over. But in that space of emptiness, she started learning about herself, her patterns, her energy, her worth. She realized that for years, she had built her business on fear of scarcity. The universe had stripped it away not to punish her, but to rebuild her foundation on self-worth instead of survival. When she started again, everything flowed, effortlessly, powerfully, abundantly. She said, "The test was never about money. It was about me." That's the secret most people miss. The universe doesn't test your bank account. It tests your belief. It checks whether your energy matches what you're asking for. If you say you want wealth but still operate from fear, life will show you more situations that trigger fear, not to hurt you, but to help you outgrow it. The test will repeat until you pass it. That's why some people face the same struggles again and again: financial setbacks, toxic relationships, emotional burnout. The pattern repeats because the lesson hasn't been learned. But the moment you shift your response, the test dissolves. The greatest wealth isn't the money that arrives. It's the wisdom you gain along the way. Because when you understand how to remain calm in chaos, grateful in waiting, and trusting in uncertainty, you've already stepped into true abundance. That mindset is unshakable. No loss can break it. No delay can discourage it. So when you're being tested, remember, the universe isn't asking, "Do you still want this?" It's asking, "Can you hold this?" Because wealth isn't given. It's entrusted. And only those who've proven they can stay grounded when everything seems unstable are trusted with more. These tests will appear in many forms: a sudden financial challenge, a betrayal, a missed opportunity, or simply a long silence. But underneath them all, there's a purpose. The delay builds patience. The disappointment builds humility. The rejection builds direction. Every no is carving space for the right yes. Every setback is silently setting you up for alignment. When you finally understand that, you stop fearing the tests. You begin to meet them with calmness. You stop saying, "Why now?" and start saying, "I see you, I understand, I'm ready." That's when the shift happens. That's when the universe stops testing and starts rewarding. So if you're walking through fire right now, if things are uncertain, unstable, and heavy, don't curse the season. Breathe, trust, learn. Because every test is proof that the universe hasn't given up on you. It's preparing you. And the moment you pass the test, wealth, not just financial, but spiritual, emotional, and mental wealth, will flow to you with a grace that feels almost unreal. And when it does, you'll look back and whisper what so many before you have said: "The test didn't destroy me, it built me." There comes a moment when, after all the chaos and confusion, something subtle begins to change inside you. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, but it's powerful. You start to notice that the same situations that once made you anxious no longer shake you. The people who once drained your energy no longer have power over you. And then, quietly, the world begins to respond differently to you. That's a magnetic shift. The unseen force that turns your inner alignment into outer opportunity. It's when you stop forcing and start flowing, when you no longer chase what's meant for you, because what's meant for you starts to find its way. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens when you walk through the storms of loss and confusion and still refuse to give up. It happens when you've learned to trust your inner voice even when everything around you seems silent. Imagine a person walking through a forest in darkness. They can't see the path clearly, but they keep moving because something deep within tells them to take one more step. Then, without warning, the first light of dawn begins to break through the trees. That's what the magnetic shift feels like. The light of alignment after the long night of uncertainty. I once heard a man say, "When I stopped trying to make things happen and started trusting they were already happening for me, my entire life changed." That's not just a statement. It's a vibration. When your energy aligns with your belief, life starts to rearrange itself around you. Suddenly, things that used to feel hard become effortless. You think of someone and they call. You imagine an idea, and the resources appear. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting people who seem to understand your journey, without explanation. It's not luck, it's resonance. You've tuned into the frequency of wealth, success, and ease. Think about a radio station. You can't hear the music playing on another channel until you adjust the dial. The music was always there, but you couldn't experience it until you tuned in. That's how energy works. The wealth, the opportunities, the connections, they've always been there. But when your mind was filled with doubt, fear, and frustration, you weren't tuned to receive them. The moment you clear your energy and focus your intention, you shift the frequency. Suddenly, the same world looks different, not because it changed, but because you did. A woman once shared her story about struggling to grow her business. For years, she chased clients, begged for opportunities, and worried constantly about money. Nothing worked. Then one day, exhausted and heartbroken, she stopped. She said, "I can't do this anymore." But instead of quitting, she decided to shift her energy. She stopped chasing. She began meditating every morning, focusing on gratitude and abundance. She wrote down what she wanted, not in desperation, but in trust. Within 3 months, clients began to find her. She didn't change her strategy. She changed her energy. The moment she started believing she was already worthy of abundance, abundance started believing in her. This shift isn't just spiritual. It's practical. When you move from fear to trust, your decisions change. You speak differently. You carry yourself differently. You stop sending out signals of need and start radiating confidence. People can feel that. Energy doesn't lie. You probably met someone who walks into a room and everyone seems drawn to them. They're not the loudest person, not necessarily the most successful, but they carry a certain calmness, a sense of certainty. That's alignment. That's what happens when your inner world is peaceful. The outer world becomes magnetic. There's a story about a farmer who worked tirelessly to grow his crops. Every day, he watered the seeds, checked the soil, prayed for rain. But nothing seemed to grow. One day, he realized he had been planting in the wrong field. He'd been so busy working that he never stopped to check his alignment. When he moved to the right soil, the same seeds began to sprout effortlessly. Life is like that. You could be working hard, but in the wrong energy, in the wrong vibration. Once you align your energy with abundance, the same actions produce different results. You start to see signs everywhere. Numbers repeating 111, 222, 777. Showing up on clocks, receipts, license plates. Ideas pop into your mind at random moments, and something inside says, pay attention. You meet someone new and feel an instant connection, as if you've met before. These are not coincidences, they're confirmations. The universe speaks through symbols and timing. When wealth is near, it doesn't shout, it whispers. But if you're still tuned to the noise of fear, you will miss the whispers of alignment. The magnetic shift also changes your relationship with time. You stop being desperate for when and start trusting how. You begin to understand that what's meant for you will not pass you by. That patience isn't waiting, it's preparation. You no longer rush. You move intentionally. You know that divine timing is never late. You realize that wealth isn't something you chase. It's something you receive when you become the version of yourself who can hold it. There's a powerful quote that says, what you seek is seeking you. It's not just poetic, it's real. Every desire you have is already searching for the version of you who's ready for it. The dream home, the business opportunity, the financial freedom. They're not outside of you. They're waiting at the level of energy you're rising into. That's why the inner work matters more than the outer hustle. Because you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. Think about how the ocean works. The waves always move toward the shore, but if you stand too far inland, you'll never feel them. You have to step closer to the edge where the water meets the sand. That's where alignment happens. You can't control the tide, but you can position yourself to receive it. Similarly, you can't force the timing of your wealth, but you can align yourself with it by stepping closer in faith, in gratitude, in purpose. And then, one day, you'll notice how everything feels lighter. You'll wake up with calm excitement instead of anxiety. You'll move through your day with quiet confidence instead of worry. People will start to say, you've changed, but they won't be able to explain how. You'll know, though. You'll know that something invisible within you has shifted. You'll feel guided, supported, aligned. That's when the flow begins. Ideas become opportunities. Conversations become doors, and your intuition becomes your GPS. The magnetic shift doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you stop fighting it. You learn to trust it. And in that trust, wealth no longer feels far away. It feels inevitable. Because wealth was never about chasing money. It was about becoming magnetic to it. It was about remembering that when your heart is aligned, when your thoughts are clear, and when your energy vibrates at the frequency of faith, everything you've ever wanted begins to move toward you silently, surely, naturally, as if it had been waiting for you all along. There comes a moment when you stop trying to control everything, and instead, you begin to feel that something greater is guiding you. It's subtle at first, like the soft pull of a tide beneath the surface. You don't see it, but you can sense it. That's the moment your alignment with wealth begins, the moment the current of abundance starts to move in your favor. And it's not because you work harder or push more or chase longer. It's because you finally stopped swimming against your own flow. You've let go. You've allowed. And when you allow, everything that was meant for you begins to find its way home. When you align your energy, wealth doesn't trickle. It flows. It's not forced, not manipulated. It feels natural, inevitable, like the way morning sunlight spreads across the earth without trying. But before reaching that state, most people go through years of resistance. They wake up every day feeling like they're pushing a boulder uphill, doing everything right. Yet nothing seems to move. They work, they plan, they hustle, and still something's missing. That something is alignment. Because you can't receive abundance from a place of lack. You can't attract peace from a heart filled with fear. Life doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. I once met a man who had spent 15 years chasing success. Every book, every strategy, every opportunity. He was there first. But deep down, he didn't believe he was worthy of success. Every time something good happened, he found a way to sabotage it. He'd say, "I don't know why this keeps happening to me. I work so hard." The truth was simple. His energy was louder than his effort. He didn't see himself as abundant, so abundance couldn't see him. When he finally learned to slow down, to stop fighting, and to start believing that he was already enough, things began to move. He got an offer for a position he hadn't even applied for. A small idea he had months ago suddenly caught fire. That's the difference between force and flow, between chasing wealth and being aligned with it. Wealth flows effortlessly when you align your thoughts, emotions, and actions with gratitude rather than fear. Gratitude is a language of abundance. It's like tuning your heart to the frequency of receiving. The moment you stop saying, "I'll be grateful when I get it," and start saying, "I'm grateful because it's already mine," you shift everything. You no longer wait for wealth, you welcome it. And wealth always arrives where it's welcomed. There's a woman I knew who struggled for years to build her business. She compared herself constantly, feeling smaller every time she saw others succeed. Her mind was a battlefield of "why not me?" and "I'm not enough." One day, she made a small but powerful decision. Every morning, she would write 3 things she was grateful for, not big things, just small, simple blessings. The sound of rain, a kind message, her own breath. Slowly, her energy changed. She began to smile more, to speak with more confidence. And soon, people started responding differently. Clients who had once ignored her began reaching out. Her business started to grow, not because of a new strategy, but because she had aligned her energy with appreciation. That's the secret no one teaches. You don't chase success. You become someone who attracts it by being deeply grateful for what already is. When you're aligned, the right opportunities start showing up in effortless ways. You'll find yourself at the right place, meeting the right people at the right time. You won't have to manipulate, beg, or force outcomes. It will feel as though the universe is coordinating everything for you. And in truth, it is, because once your frequency matches the vibration of abundance, everything on that wavelength begins to move toward you naturally. Think of it like a magnet. It doesn't chase, it attracts. But the real beauty of alignment is how peaceful it feels. Before wealth manifests physically, you'll feel it emotionally. There's a quiet knowing inside you that says, "It's done." You don't panic anymore. You stop checking your phone every hour for validation. You don't feel that rush of desperation when something goes wrong. Instead, you breathe and say, "If it's mine, it will stay. If it's not, something better is coming." That's alignment. That's what it means to trust your energy more than your circumstances. It's like standing in a river. When you fight the current, you tire yourself out, splashing and struggling. But when you finally surrender, the current carries you exactly where you're meant to go. You're still moving, but with ease. Wealth works the same way. When you stop fighting the timing, the fear, the doubt, and simply trust that you're in flow with something greater, things start happening faster, smoother, and more beautifully than you could have planned. Sometimes people think alignment means doing nothing, but it's not about inactivity. It's about inspired action. You still take steps, but now they're guided by intuition instead of fear. You don't act because you're afraid of missing out. You act because it feels right. You're no longer running from scarcity. You're walking toward abundance. There's a profound difference between movement from panic and movement from peace. The first drains you, the second fulfills you. And when wealth starts flowing, it doesn't just show up as money. It shows up as clarity, as confidence, as people who see your worth without you proving it. It shows up as opportunities that align with your purpose, not just your paycheck. It's not about collecting riches. It's about expanding into your full potential. You begin to realize that wealth was never something outside of you. It was always within, waiting for permission to express itself through your belief. There's a story about 2 artists. The first spent years trying to copy others' work, desperate to be recognized. The second spent years perfecting his craft quietly, painting what he loved, trusting that one day someone would see the truth in his work. The first artist burned out, chasing trends and applause. The second found peace, then recognition, then abundance. Not because he tried harder, but because his energy was pure, his intention was aligned. That's the essence of effortless wealth. When your focus is genuine, when your actions are rooted in authenticity and love, wealth follows you as a reflection of that wholeness. I've seen it happen countless times. People who once struggled endlessly suddenly begin to receive more with less effort, not because the world changed, but because they did. Their energy shifted from scarcity to certainty, from fear to faith. That's the moment everything turns. You realize wealth isn't something you chase after. It's something that chases after you once you align your spirit with it. You begin to move through life differently. You speak abundance. You think abundance. You breathe abundance. And the world, like a mirror, reflects it back to you. You no longer worry about how things will happen. You just know they will. You stop doubting, stop begging, stop forcing, and start trusting that the flow of life is working with you, not against you. And once you feel that deep trust, that unshakable peace within, that's when wealth truly starts to flow, not as a reward, but as a response to who you become. There's a moment in everyone's journey when everything seemed to fall apart, and you can't understand why. The people you thought would stay begin to drift away. The plans that once felt certain begin to crumble. The path that looked so clear suddenly disappears beneath your feet. It feels unfair, confusing, and lonely. But what if I told you that this collapse isn't the end of your story? It's the soil where your next chapter is being planted. You're not being buried. You're being planted. And there's a quiet but powerful difference between the two. When something is buried, it's gone, it's finished. But when something is planted, it's hidden for a time so it can grow stronger, deeper, and rise higher than before. The darkness that surrounds a seed isn't punishment. It's preparation. The same earth that seems to swallow it is actually protecting it, nurturing it, and giving it what it needs to grow roots that can hold the weight of its future. That's what happens before wealth arrives. Life hides you, humbles you, and rebuilds you from the inside out. You think you're being forgotten, but in truth, you're being formed. I remember a young man who lost everything in a matter of months. His job, his relationship, even his home. He told me that he felt invisible, like the world had closed its eyes to him. But what he didn't realize was that during that season of silence, something extraordinary was happening. For the first time, he had nothing left to cling to. No titles, no validations, no distractions. So he started looking inward. He began reading, reflecting, walking alone. What was once loneliness became clarity. What was once pain became direction. A year later, that same man started a business from a single idea that came to him during one of those quiet walks. Today, he helps others who feel lost find their purpose. He once told me, "I thought I was being buried, but I was actually being planted." That's how transformation works. Before the new version of you can rise, the old one must fall apart. And it's not easy to let go of what's familiar, even if it no longer serves you. We cling to comfort because it feels safe, even when it's quietly suffocating us. But the universe has a way of shaking us free. It removes what can't go with us. The job that ends, the friendship that fades, the door that closes. These are not losses, they're redirections. Every ending is a universe saying, "This chapter has served its purpose. Now it's time for you to grow." The truth is, growth is rarely comfortable. It often arrives disguised as chaos. Think about a butterfly. Before it can fly, it must dissolve inside the cocoon. The caterpillar doesn't know it's transforming. It just knows it's falling apart. But within that breakdown, everything is being reorganized for flight. You might feel like that now, stuck in a dark place, wondering why nothing's moving. But maybe, just maybe, everything inside you is rearranging itself for something far greater than you can see. There's a story of a woman who went through years of struggle, financial hardship, heartbreak, rejection. She prayed for breakthrough, but nothing changed. One night, she cried and said, "I can't take this anymore." But instead of giving up, she began to talk to herself differently. Every morning, she told herself, "This is not happening to me. It's happening for me." She started seeing every challenge as a lesson, every delay as divine timing. Months later, she received an opportunity that changed her life, a position in a company that valued her gifts in ways she had never experienced before. Later, she realized that if any of those earlier doors had stayed open, she never would have reached the one that truly fit her. That's how the universe works. It doesn't destroy you to hurt you. It removes what's blocking your bloom. Before wealth arrives, you must become the kind of person who can hold it. The foundation has to be strong enough to carry the weight of your blessings. And that strength isn't built in comfort. It's forged in struggle. Every setback you face teaches you resilience. Every rejection teaches you patience. Every delay builds your trust. These experiences are like roots, unseen but essential. Without roots, any tree will collapse under the first storm. So when life buries you in darkness, it's not because you're being punished. It's because your roots are growing deep enough to support the abundance that's coming. You might be in that stage right now, the silent, confusing in-between. Maybe your hard work isn't paying off yet. Maybe your prayers seem unanswered. Maybe your life feels paused. But what if the pause is divine protection? What if the silence is your soul's incubation period? The universe isn't ignoring you. It's perfecting the timing. The seed doesn't bloom the day it's planted. It waits for the right season. So must you. Think of rain. Before it nourishes the earth, the clouds must first gather, darken, and release their weight. It's a heavy process. But when the rain finally falls, everything comes to life. That's how blessings arrive, too. Slowly, silently, and then all at once. You don't see the buildup, but it's there. The pressure, the waiting, the struggle. It's all accumulation for your breakthrough. Sometimes the hardest part is trusting that your pain has purpose. But every great story begins with a trial. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison before leading a nation. J.K. Rowling was rejected 12 times before Harry Potter became a phenomenon. Oprah Winfrey was fired from her first television job before becoming one of the most influential voices on the planet. These people weren't buried by failure. They were planted by faith, and when the time was right, they grew into the very vision that once seemed impossible. There's a quiet strength that comes from surviving the seasons that try to break you. You begin to see beauty in the breakdown. You realize that the things you thought you lost were never truly meant to stay. You stop clinging and start trusting. And in that trust, your energy shifts. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start saying, "What is this teaching me?" That's the moment your soil becomes fertile for miracles. One day, you'll look back on this season and understand exactly why it had to happen. You'll see that every tear watered the garden of your growth. Every disappointment was pruning your path. Every silence was shaping your strength. You'll realize that the universe wasn't ignoring you. It was preparing you. Because before wealth arrives, before life gives you everything you've dreamed of, it has to make sure you can hold it with wisdom, humility, and grace. So if it feels like your life is being turned upside down right now, take a breath. You're not falling apart. You're falling into alignment. The soil is moving because something beautiful is breaking through beneath it. You're not lost. You're in the middle of your becoming. And when you rise from this, you won't just have wealth. You'll have depth. You won't just have success. You'll have substance. You won't just have what you asked for. You'll have become the person worthy of it. Because you were never buried. You were planted. And your season of bloom is closer than you think. So now, as you stand in this moment, somewhere between what was and what will be, remember this. You are not stuck. You are not forgotten. You are simply being shaped for something greater than you can imagine. Every delay, every heartbreak, every silent night was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to design you. You are the seed, and this is your soil. You are not buried. You are planted. Don't wait for the perfect timing. Don't wait for the signs to be loud. The universe moves for those who move first. Trust that your time is now. The shift isn't coming someday. It's happening right now inside you. You are rising, quietly, powerfully, and soon the world will see what the darkness was preparing. Repeat this with me. I am not waiting. I am becoming. I am not lost. I am aligning. I am not buried. I am planted. Say it until it becomes truth in your bones. Because when your faith becomes stronger than your fear, nothing can stop what's meant for you. Let today be the day you stop doubting and start declaring. Let today be the day you stop asking when and start saying now. The season you've been praying for isn't ahead of you. It's already unfolding through you. And when the world asks how you did it, when they wonder how you turned pain into power, loss into light, and silence into success, just smile and say, I wasn't buried. I was planted. Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember this, I wasn't buried. I was planted. And now it's my season to rise. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.